guess what happened?
What happened?
Popeye beat the hell out of him.
You know, I want to tell you a story. Our neighbor had a little dog. It was a schnauzer. And this beautiful little schnauzer had all matted hair. You know, it looked really, really bad. So she took him to her local veterinarian, and the vet looked at it and says, you know, Mrs. Johnson, I can fix this by shaving him and he'll be all right, but you know what? That's going to cost you $300, and because you're a good customer, let me tell you how else you can fix it. Go and buy some hair remover, buy extra strength hair remover, put it on your dog, comb it out, and it's going to cost you $20. So she went to Walgreens and she says to the man, do you have extra strength hair remover? And the man says, yes, we do. If you use it under your arms, be sure you put some baby oil on there first so that you don't get a rash. She says, I'm not using it on my arms. He says, okay, if you use it on your legs, be sure to mix it 50-50 with baby oil so you don't get a rash on your legs. She says, I'm not using it on my legs. Okay, what are you using it on? She says, I'm using it on my schnauzer. And he says, okay lady, if you use it on your schnauzer, use it full strength, but do not ride a bicycle for at least a week.
There's another story. The guys go 90 miles down the highway, and he looked down on his chest, and he forgot to put on his seatbelt. So he says to his wife, help me, put on that seatbelt. So they managed to put on the seatbelt. By that time, the highway patrolman pulled up, put his lights on, pulled him over, and says, sir, you've been going 90 miles an hour. He says, yes, officer. So he writes him a ticket. 90 miles an hour, no seatbelt. He says, officer, I was going 90 miles an hour, but I had my seatbelt on. He says, no, you didn't. So they argued back and forth. Finally, the highway patrolman looks over. He says, lady, you look like an honest lady. Tell me, did your husband have his seatbelt on or not? She says, you know, officer, I've been married to this man for 35 years, and I learned in my early days not to argue with him when he's drunk.
You know, we all know when this country was populated by the Europeans, there was a group called the Amish. Well, the Amish is a very nice group of people that they do not drink alcohol and they live the old ways and so forth. So one day, Johann, one of the Amish, walks past the bar, and there is Hans sitting in the bar, drinking one shot of alcohol after another. He walks inside and says, Hans, what are you doing? You know, we don't drink. And he says, well, some things you just can't explain. He says, come on, you got to explain it to me. I'm your brother. He says, well, let me tell you. This morning, I was milking our cow, and all of a sudden, the left leg of the cow kicks over the bucket and spills all the milk. Oh my God, what did you do? I tied the left leg of the cow to the door jamb with a length of rope. Then what? Well, and he drinks a couple more. He says, then the right leg of the cow kicks over the bucket and spills the milk. Oh my God, what did you do? I tied the right leg to the other side of the door jamb. And then what? Oh my God, out of nowhere, the tail comes and knocks over the bucket. So what did you do? He says, well, I stood on my chamber and I wanted to tie the tail to the rafters when I realized I don't have any more rope. So I took the belt out of my trousers, and just as my pants fell down, my wife walks in, and some things you just cannot explain. afraid. Mrs. Miller's skirt was stuck in the crack of her butt. So I pulled it out and she hit me right here. So I thought maybe I did something wrong, so I stuffed it back and she hit me again.
Then there was this other story. Father O'Nelly, standing up front of his church one Sunday morning, smoking a cigarette. When the rabbi came down and says, Father O'Nelly, it's a shame, he says. We are neighbors for 50 years, not once have you shown me the church. Father O'Nelly says, come on, I'm going to show you the church today. Straight in, they went to the confession booth, said, you sit over there and you watch how we do things here. First lady comes up, Father O'Nelly, I committed adultery 3 times. Father O'Nelly says, put $5 in the poor box and your sins will be forgiven. Second lady comes up, Father O'Nelly, I committed adultery 3 times, put $5 in the poor box and your sins will be forgiven. And here comes the altar boy. Says, Father O'Nelly, you got to come quick. You have a phone call, you got to come right away. And he looks over, he says to the rabbi, he says, you see how I things in here. You see what I do here. You sit over here, he says, I don't know what's in here. Third lady comes up, I committed adultery 2 times. The rabbi says, you have to go do it again. It's $3 for $5 this week.
It's 5 o'clock in the evening, and this man really in a hurry to go home. So he's going 90 miles an hour trying to get home. And all of a sudden, he looks in the mirror, and there is a highway patrolman right behind him with the lights blinking. He thought, oh gee, that's all I need is a ticket. So the policeman pulls him over and says, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I want to go home too. If you give me a good reason why I shouldn't give you a ticket, I'll let you go. So the guy said, 2 years ago, one of the officers ran away with my wife. When I saw the flashing light, I thought you were bringing her back.
Then it was just 2 guys, you know how guys talk sometimes. I would never say anything like this, but I heard this guy say, he says, my wife, she's an angel. He says, you're so lucky, he says, mine is still alive.
So, to bring this to a very nice little close, let me tell you what happened is, I was in the park the other day, and over there in the park bench are 3 guys sitting there. The one on the left is going like this. The one on the right is going like this. The one in the middle is reading a book. The policeman watches this for about 20 minutes, then he walks up to the one in the middle, and he says, guys, I want to tell you something. I think those 2 on either side of you, I think they're a little crazy. I think you should take them home. And the guy says, right now? He says, right now. He says, okay. That reminds me of that little Italian story that you forgot to tell me.
Oh, the fisherman?
The fisherman, yes. Where's your
Pedro? Oh, I need a skirt for that. An apron. Yeah, I need it quick. Before they chase me off here.
Look how well he has them trained, isn't that cool?
He says, someday I'm going to leave. And she gave him hell, and he says, someday I'm going to leave. One Sunday morning, Maria's looking down the cliff, and there's Pedro putting all his belongings in his boat. And she looks down and says, Pedro, what are you doing? He says, I don't care. I'm going to leave. And slowly start rowing out to the ocean, He says, Pedro, who's going to take care of all of the kids? He says, I don't care. He says, I'm going to leave. And he rows out to the ocean. Then he says, Pedro, who is going to take summer day,